Be working with some more leading or with around the round pen. I'm adding in some voice cues and working on targeting the cones. So you can see Castor's very excited and like wants to kind of paw, and he's a little frustrated to get going here. So I should be working on just having him stand still and relax and just hold on. Like I need to get him relaxed there. So I should probably click him for standing relaxed, ask him to go forward, and then I'm not sure if I asked him to touch the target there or not. That's why he was confused as well. So I'm asking him here. He's a little confused. He's like not sure what to do. So I'll let him target the cone. There we go. So I don't think he's targeted these cones before. Like he's just used to the round pen as he goes around it, and we do different transitions and we work on leading and stuff, but he's not used to actually touching the cone. So I ask him to go forward. So I say walk on, and then I have a point, and then I ask him to target, and I kind of lean down and say target for my cue for the cone. And he was not used to it right now. So I want him to just think of doing other things at the around the round pen than just going forward and stopping. So including touching the target here. I'm trying to wait for him here because I'm trying to show him what I want. There we go. So I'll click him once his nose touches the cone here. And let him hang out here. He's going to figure it out here in a second what it is that I want. Because my goal here is to have him lead around, and then at any point I can ask him to target a cone, so that when I'm riding him I can ask him to target it, and I can, have the cones help me guide him as he goes forward, and um, then it can kind of help me out as I'm trying to teach him to be ridden. So that's my plan here. So I'm just asking him to touch the cones. There we go. I'm a little bit in the way, but he is targeting the cone here. Let him chew, and I'm clicking and reinforcing him here for standing still. So I want him standing still. I don't want him walking off. I do want him walking on my cue, and then I want him also touching the target when I cue him. So there's going to be a lot more going on for him, and he's going to have to start paying attention to all my different cues for the different behaviors. So he's just targeting the cone right here. Target the cone again. And I also have to balance these because he really wants to just walk and keep going and be going forward. So I need to balance that walking on with just standing still and waiting and touching the targets. So that's what we're doing here, just working on him touching it. And I probably need to work more on cue control with him touching the targets. So him like doing it when I ask him to. Right now I'm just kind of letting him touch the targets because he needs to just see them and like touch them. So I'm asking him to target here. There we go. So he's starting to get it. Like you could see in the very beginning he was confused. I was confused on what I was asking. So definitely gonna be confusing for him. So let him hang out here, chew on that. Ask him a target again. Very nice. So he's getting it already. It's been 2 minutes and he's figured it out. So that's great. But I just want all these different behaviors intact on the ground so that when I go to ride him, I can ask him to go walk to a target, and I can have that prompt to get him to going under saddle. Um, that's my plan and my goal with getting him under saddle. So right now, I just wanted to get him into targeting the cones because he's just not super familiar with that. So it's going to be a lot of targeting cones here. So I didn't ask him that time. So now I'm going to raise the criteria a little bit. I'm going to say, like, can you only do this when I ask? So I ask him to target the cone, and I need to be consistent with how I'm asking him because other times I'm leaning a lot more and pointing to the target, and this time I'm just like that time, like you can tell I'm saying, "Can you touch the target?" That last time, you couldn't really tell. Like I couldn't really tell that I was asking him. So I need to be more consistent in my body language and my cues. Ask him to go forward, which he's pretty solid with here. He's in a good position. I ask him to target. There we go. That was really nice. But I want him to just be thinking all the time. Like, am I going to go forward? Am I going to stop? Am I going to touch the target? And waiting for those cues. That's really my goal here with this exercise. So it's going to be a little bit repetitive because I'm going to be doing a lot of targeting, a lot of standing still to balance out that go forward behavior. So it's not going to be super interesting. I'm asking him to target again. I'll click and feed. Once his nose touches that target, let him chew like he's touching it again. I'll click feed for that. Ask him to go the other direction. Ask him to target. Oops, he kind of missed it. There we go. And I mean, it can also be very confusing because my walk-on signal is very similar to my targeting signal, my cue. So I should have been more careful with that. He already had that like walk on and then point up as his target. So I should be like leaning more to show him, hey, this is the target cue, like I am here, and should have been more consistent with that. There we go. Click him there and feed. So I could have been more consistent in that. And then once he's under saddle, like I'm obviously not going to have that visual cue, so I can fade that out to just the voice cue of target. But right now I need to be very specific on what behavior I'm cueing. And then I also like what I did when I was facing the other direction here is I need to be very specific on when he's going to be allowed to touch the cone. So am I still allowing just any touch to be rewarded or only when I ask? Because I did anytime he touched it in the beginning. So there I click and feed. And then as I kept going and he was starting to get it, I was like, okay, well, only when I ask a target. And then that behavior broke down a little bit. And then I was like, okay, only or whenever the cone's present, you can target it. So I got to be very consistent with that. Kind of read where he's at. Is he doing it? Like, is he wanting to go to all the cones and touch them on his own? Then I can start adding in the cue and only doing it on cue. But I wasn't very consistent with that either. So those are a couple things that I would definitely fix and work on. So now I'm just asking him to straighten out because I wanted to work on him walking forward while my hand is on his withers. So you can't really see from this angle, but I just put my right arm over his back and then asked him to walk on one step and then I'm gonna click and feed. So I'm asking him for something different now. So I probably could have put in a pause there so that he understands like, okay, I'm asking you for something different now. So he's not super confused because I was even a little confused watching the video. There, I just kind of put my hand over his back. I'm clicking feed that, which he was totally fine with him walking forward with, but just wanted to do a little bit of desensitizing because I didn't want him to think that just my arm over his back meant walk on. I wanted to make sure like that was, he could still stand for that, but I just wanted him to do it on cue. So I put my arm on him, let him stand for a second, then ask him to walk on. So that's why I threw in that other one with my hand like right here, but I'm not going to ask him to go on because I don't want that to become a cue to walk on. I want that to just be another thing that I want to desensitize him to so that he's used to kind of having some movement, or like I'm going to move my hand. He can see my hand out of his right eye too. A little bit of weight on his back just to kind of get him used to that and get him ready for riding. But again, I'm desensitizing here, like he sees my hand, so that's totally fine. Click him for that. I like that he's wanting to participate. He's not afraid. He's like, oh, look, there's something over there versus like, oh my gosh, that's scary. So again, ask him to go forward. You can see my arm over his back there. Again, just asking him to go forward a couple steps, then clicking and rewarding. So he's doing fantastic. That was really nice. But I should have given him a little break in the middle. And then like here he's like, oh, I'm gonna go forward. And he's just kind of missed the cone here. So I should have been very specific on I'm asking for the cones. I should have leaned forward more. I'm just giving him a quick timeout here. I'm gonna show him again. There we go, what I want. So I'm gonna reward, click there, feed. But I should have been very specific, lean forward, showed him that I want him to touch the target. Probably should have gotten a little bit closer to it too, because he was just still thinking about going forward to my go forward cues and going and lunging basically, or doing some in hand work. So yep, that's better. This is better. I'm showing him, hey, this is, I want you to target this now. So I could have been more clear in the breaks between the behaviors of what I want, especially now because they're new behaviors and I want him to kind of differentiate, like, okay, we're doing something else now. Once he's more solid with them, we can bounce between them a lot more effortlessly, like we would do under saddle, or if we're doing something a little bit more difficult. But for right now, probably give him a little break, give him a little jackpot so that he can be like, okay, now we're taking a break. He ate a snack. We're going to go do something else. And then just give him a cue that we're going to work on something else. I think that's going to help him a lot. So I'm going to reward him while he's standing and waiting here for me to fill up my bag again. Ask him to target. That was much better. Click feed. I like how relaxed he looks. This looks really nice. Like I like where his head and neck is. I like his body positioning. I'm gonna go the other way. And he's like, I want to target still. That looks pretty good. So he's following my direction more. Like he wanted to go to the cone on the left, but then he was like, oh, okay, I'll go to this one. So I like that. That looks really nice. I'm gonna move my feet out of the way here so that I can feed him to the inside of him so he's not really close to my bag here. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. I'm just going to do a quick desensitizing, put my hand over his back and click, and then go ahead and feed him. And then I'm just going to do that same thing, same exercise to the right. So hand over, ask him to go forward. You can see a little bit better from this angle too. There he walks forward one step, I'll click and then feed. That looks really good. I'm really happy with that. He was a little weird in the beginning. He was a little confused about the cones, but he picked up on this really well. I wasn't great at explaining it to touching the cones to him as well, but so that was mostly my fault. But I like that you can see the difference between the beginning of the session and the end. This looks really good. He's not anticipating, let my arms up there, so I'm doing a bit of desensitizing, just like my arm can be here, and I'll click and then feed. He doesn't have to walk every time. You gotta be really careful with that because he might think that's a new cue to go on, to walk on. So hand over, let him stand for a second, ask him to go forward, takes 2 steps, I'm gonna click, and then go ahead and feed. That was really nice. I'm really happy with that. Yeah, he did great. I'll go ahead and ask him to hurry it. There, yeah, he's getting it together. So he's combining those behaviors together nicely. I'm just gonna give him a jackpot.